Hello everyone. I hope you are doing great. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
Yes. So I hope you all are doing great today. And so welcome to the session. I know it's a long weekend, but you still are here. So I'm very happy that you all joined the MyWays session. And also we have our mentor also. So I did not take much time of you and we will start shortly. I'll just, in couple of minutes, I'll give introduction of our mentor today. Who is teaching you and guiding you today, and then we will start. So before that, am I audible? Because someone said in the chat box that I am not audible, so please let me know.
Ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So now we will, before we start, I would like to know about you all. So you can tell me like from which college are you, in which year are you, what do you expect from MyWays and what do you expect from this session? We can take your question as you want because we like to have like to increase your experience, our users experience. So please let us know in the chat section like from which college you are, what do you expect from the MyWays, and also today we have a live hiring test of ROR at the end. So I request all of you to stay till end and give that test. So can you like be very interactive and ask, you can use chat section, or you can, once our mentor stop talking, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question in any time also. So just let me know from which college you are. I'm happy to hear out of you guys. Or you are you excited for today's session? You can just give a thumbs up and let me know.
Hi, ma'am. So I am Calcutta. I applied for your Prodman intern, and I wanted to experience how your classes are online. So yeah, I worked on Ruby before on Rails. So I'm excited to learn more from you.
Yeah. So what's your name?
My name is Ramkrishna.
Okay. Ram, I'm very happy to host you today. So I'm eagerly waiting to host you. I hope you like our experience and give our hiring test for Ruby on Rails also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Sham, you are interested. Thank you so much. Yes, you are interested. Anyone else? So Sham, which college you are from? Oh, you are from Vishaka College. Great. Anyone else can also let me know from which college they are. What is their expectations from MyWays or this session?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, I am actually a student of NIT Durgapur. And yes, ma'am. And I have basically worked in the PHP domain. My project was in the PHP. And I want to explore the new things in the Ruby on Rails and learn something new over here. And I'm very excited about it.
Thank you so much, Yash. So we hope that your understanding today's 1 hour is worth in your understanding in Ruby and Rails. And also we have resource kit for the Ruby and Rails that will help you. Anyone else? Or I think we should start the session because it's still 7:05. Ankur, you are very interested and whips. Okay, Ankur, I'm very happy that you are interested in MyWays. So let's begin. Let's start this session. Meanwhile, people will keep joining in. So welcome everybody. I like to welcome all of the users, all of the students, and our mentor in the this masterclass. So thank you so much for coming in on long weekend and joining this masterclass. So my name is Nitya. I'm the host today. So I'm representing MyWays today, and therefore let me give you a brief introduction of MyWays and the mentor. I will not take your much time. I know you are ready to hear from our mentor today. So MyWays is basically a career expert platform. So we have various free resources. We usually conduct master classes. We have an initiative called My Curricle where we hire for the students, where we have the students for the companies, and we also like that initiative we give a placement to the students free of cost just based on how much capable that student is. So I'll talk more about my Gurukul in detail at the end. And the best part is in today's masterclass at the end also we have a live ROR hiring test, so you can just go and give, and you can also get ROR placement as soon as possible. So I hope you all to stay till end. And now I have to introduce the mentor today. His name is Priyam, as you all know. So I would like to welcome him today evening, and thank you so much, Priyam, for having time for us. So Priyam is an industry expert in ROR, and it's our privilege that he agreeing on coming to the MyWays session for guiding and mentoring our students. We are very happy to host you today.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to share my knowledge to all of the students present here to let them grow in Ruby on Rails domain. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, Prem, I do not take much of your time. So now the stage is all yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So a brief introduction from my side. Like, my name is Priyam Poddar. I have completed my graduation from GSS Academy of Technical Education, Bangalore. And I'm working in BigBinary as a Ruby on Rails developer. And so that basically we are using Ruby on Rails for the backend perspective, and on front end we are using React. So so it's kind of full stack thing, React on the front end and Ruby on Rails on the backend. And yeah, I also work on some of the side projects of my own that is on Ruby on Rails only. So it all goes around Ruby on Rails. Yeah. So that was a brief introduction. So let's start with today's thing. So the whole agenda of today's session will be like telling you about Ruby on Rails. Like, I know it's not that much very common in today's, when you start learning web development or any kind of mobile app development, you never go for Ruby on Rails as a backend thing. So I'll try to, make sure that you guys get the point why we select Ruby on Rails. And yeah, definitely there are always pros and cons for each and everything. So I'll try to tell you that as well. And like I'll also like tell you guys like how you can get started with Ruby on Rails, basically how you can set up the whole environment. And then you can also, and I'll also tell you about React and how can you connect React with Ruby on Rails, because that is most important. Nowadays, everyone is learning React, but like connecting it with Ruby on Rails is easy. So I'll tell you like how you can do that and how you can proceed ahead with it. So I'll share my screen once again. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
Thank you, Sagar. So we are starting with Ruby on Rails, an ultimate guide, and I also told you about myself, and now I'll be covering the session. So now moving ahead, like features of Ruby on Rails, there are many bookish languages of you can go and read, 2-3 points. They will say that, okay, Ruby is this, Ruby is that, Rails is this and that. So I won't be covering that because that is a kind of most bookish thing. So I'll tell you like what are the actual things that we see on. So Ruby on Rails is a model view controller architecture. So model is basically the database and thing where we have each and every, models is basically, for example, if you are storing details of a books. So model refers to the books, what kind of columns you will have and what will the data type of the particular columns and everything. So view is something that you see on the screen. That is a UI part. And controller, that is a connection between model and the views, like what is in the model and how you want to show it in the view. So controller comes in there. Then we have active records. Active records is something, a feature of Ruby. There are many active module feature, but I mentioned active record here because it's the most important thing that connects the database to Ruby on Rails in a very easy way. And then we have built-in testing. Ruby on Rails provides built-in testing so that you don't have to learn much more about testing. You can write test cases easily with Ruby on Rails. And scaffolding. So scaffolding is something like Ruby on Rails gives us a feature of scaffolding where we can generate controllers, models, views, test cases, and everything using one command. So that command that helps us, for getting started. Like later on, when you work on large-scale projects, definitely scaffolding will not work because scaffolding generates lot of many files that may not required. But to get started, like it's a very good thing. So why Ruby on Rails? So Ruby on Rails gives us many benefits that we don't get in other backend development frameworks. So let's say from Ruby on, if we talk about active database. So for database, for example, if you go on Node.js and so before going ahead, like, can you guys tell me, like, what have you been working on, like Node.js, Express, or React, like, so that I can get to know what kind of population, like, I'm telling, so that I will take the examples in that way. You can put in the chat, like, what have you been worked on till now? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so as Sai also wrote that he has worked on React and Node. So can any one of you else, at least I need 5 to 10 answers so that I can proceed with that, like what you guys know and what we have learned till now.
So myself, Sagar, and I have worked on Python and Django at the backend, and for the front end, sir, I have worked on HTML and CSS3.
Okay. So, okay, Sagar, so let's teach you, like, I'll tell you all why to use Ruby on this with a live chit chat. So Sagar, like, when you worked on Django, so like how much comfortable you were with connecting to database? Like, what trouble did you face or any kind of thing you saw there?
In Django, there is no such kind of things like connecting to database. In Django, you have Django have its database by own itself. We don't need to create a separate database for this.
Okay, so how do you like write your models and like how do you tell database, like, okay, which table you want to use and which table will have which columns or anything?
We just type about the model. We just make a file like models.py, and there we put this category we need in this type. Like suppose we need an name, that will be varchar, that will be of length 30, and that will be a primary key. That's it.
Okay, so
yes, sir.
That's it. It works, right? Okay, cool. And Sai Kaustubh, like, can you tell me, like, you have worked on Nodes, so how did you connect? Like, how do you use database in Nodes? And
with Node, I generally use MongoDB. I feel for complex databases, I felt that was very handy. You just create a model and you can Mongoose model basically, and then you have a schema where you define all the variables and all that. So this is the approach I usually take.
Yeah. So for that, you need to install different packages like Mongo and then connect Mongo. And,
yeah.
Everything. Yeah. So like we're talking about Ruby on Rails. So Rails gives us an active record and active model. There are some active modules that Rails gives us. So what active record is? Active record is like when you have your database connected in Ruby on Rails. So how, like, the way you query to the database, it makes very easy for Ruby, like, in Rails, like in Mongo also, when you type, okay, like, for example, user.findby. So Rails also has something. So Rails basically works on PostgreSQL and MySQL. So we have active records, active model, then we have action cable. So what is action cable now? So action cable is real-time communication. So for in Node or something, you use sockets, right? So in Ruby on Rails, you can use directly action cable, and action cable gives you, interior support by default, without adding any new package or something. You can use action cable to make a socket connection from front end. And then we also have active jobs. So active jobs are the cron scheduler. If you have been working in Node, so you might know that. So active job is like you can schedule the job to work on, like, for example, if you are in a backend API call and you want some uh, task that should be performed later but not interrupting the response time, so we can add delay, and that will go to active job, and then we can use there to to run that particular task. So this feature Ruby on Rails gives us. Then we have scaffolding, which I already told you. Like it generates the basic structure of the particular model view controller what you want to build, so it helps in that. Then we have Rails console. So what Rails console is like, it's some of the Rails console gives a feature to directly debug the database thing. For example, if you want to see what kind of users you are, like what kind of data you have and how you can query it before jumping directly into the code, you do hands on there, so that when you write the code it works perfectly. You can check in the real time without waiting for each and every reload to happen. And then you also have debuggers. Debuggers are generally there in each and every backend languages. So, but in Ruby on Rails, it's a bit different. Like you get in the console itself, so you can just stop the API call there and just see what is going wrong in there. So that is also a benefit of Ruby on Rails. So these are the features Ruby Rails is giving us, and also we can also add React to it. So that is very much important thing. And Ruby on Rails also give us more what to say, like it's kind of for a large scale application. So it is a very organized code base. You have different models, different controllers, different like for CRUD APIs also, like you don't need to specify for each and every. For example, if you're doing a get request, put request, and everything like Rails has by default, put comes to update, and then like you have the index gives us like for all of the books if you want, and if you want to post you have create. So for that each and everything you have Ruby on Rails has given us a default function. So I'll show you when when I'll set up a new application in front of you, so that you can see what I meant there. So and moving ahead with the advantages and disadvantages. So Ruby on Rails is more secure programming like Ruby framework. Then it is a excellent time-saving framework, because we have most of the things organized in such a way that like you don't spend much of the time, in making the code structure, making the folder structure proper. So it's a very organized programming framework. And then we have very much good tools of array and libraries. But I'll also say that we don't have that much. We can see Node and NPM nowadays, but we have good number of packages there itself. And also one more thing, Ruby on Rails, like as in Node we have NPM, Node Package Manager. Here we have gems, so we can get different libraries through gems. And also it has it is mainly Ruby on Rails is more towards backend, like it's a server side. It's a server side programming language and not we can say client side. So it also has disadvantages, that is a low runtime speed and performance. I'd also say that it's a low runtime speed of performance, then why to take this? And Node has a high runtime performance, but still when you see in a large scale applications, and the way it is very much secured and how it processes the queries and everything, so that it comes into the point where big companies take Ruby on Rails as the priority framework to work on. And its documentation is a bit complex. Like you won't get much tutorials in the market to learn Ruby on Rails in a very perfect way as you get for React and PM Django and everything in the market. And Ruby on Rails is not a multi-threaded programming language. It's a single-threaded, but you can make it multi-threaded, but it's a bit complex thing. So by default, it works on a single-threaded only. And also there are some companies that uses Ruby on Rails, that is Dribble, Airbnb, Script, GitHub, Shopify, Basecamp. These are some companies that uses Ruby on Rails. So these were some of the advantages, disadvantages, and some points that why we should use Ruby on Rails. Now, like how to get started with Ruby on Rails. So what my plan is, like instead of telling more things verbally, I'll tell you how you can get started easily with Ruby on Rails, so that you guys get some confidence to start working on it and like try Ruby on Rails, because definitely it's not like, you know, if something is good in market, then you should just go and learn it. It depends on what kind of interest you are having to work on. So I'll try it. Okay, so one second. So yeah, I'll set up a new application in front of you guys, so that you can see how easy it is to set up a new Ruby on Rails application and get started with it. So before that, I'm not going to cover like how to set up Ruby and Rails in a system, because different operating systems have their different ways to do it. So you guys can go and try the setup thing. It is easy, but as it is different for different operating systems, so I didn't cover that. So I'll try to set up it. And yeah, also after installing Rails and everything, you should have Gem for Rails and Postgres installed in your system by default. You can also use MySQL, but I'll take Postgres as an example right now. So I'll create a new app right now. So, and this is it. Getting installed. So how we have npm install in Node and I think pip and Django. So here we have bundle install. It installs all of the packages that is mentioned in gem file. So here we have gem file, which mentions all of the gem that are being used in the application. So if we want to add any kind of gem, we go and modify gem file, and then we do bundle install to install a particular gem. And you can also, like, there are other ways to install the gem, but that is very easy way to do that. So we can go ahead with that. So let's wait for the installer to finish. It will be there in 2 seconds. Okay, so that's done. Let's go to the application. So now we are into the application, and these many files Ruby on Rails generate us with that particular command. So we have app, inside app, we have all of the logic things of the application. So see, we have views, we have models, we have mailers. Mailers are for the, action mailers. So this is also another feature of Ruby on Rails where you can send emails to the users, how in basically other languages we have to install other packages, and then we have to configure the mailing system there. But here with Ruby on Rails, they have action mailers. We can use them to send the emails. We have active jobs. Then we have JavaScript thing where we are going to integrate React in here. We have helpers services in Ruby on Rails that gives us, helpers is something you can write the code that is being used each and everywhere, and then you can include helpers and use the codes from there. You can add services. So services is the kind of it create a new object for you, and then you can add different methods. So for example, if you're creating an object and you want to use a method inside an object, then you can use services there. Controllers is something that that deals with the API calls, and we get the query from database. So this is here, and then we have configuration files that Ruby on Rails gave us to configure the application. And then this is a database file. Here we get the migrations. So in Ruby on Rails, to get some data into the database, we use migrations. So I'll show that right now. So after doing this, we need to add a Postgres gem in our file, in our system. So see, by default, we have SQLite. So I'll use Postgres. So I'll add Postgres gem here, and then I'll go and do bundle install, and it will add Postgres to the application. And also we do one simple change here. The adapter should be now Postgres. Yeah, it should be. So now if we start, so to start the application, we need to do Rails S. Okay, so we are going to some other servers. So now we are into the application. So now let's go and see how it looks like. So we are running in Rails. Okay, so we need to remove the SQLite 3. Yeah, so this is a kind of landing page for Ruby on Rails when they, when you initialize the application and when you get started with it. So now we are running Ruby on Rails with Postgres database. So it was this easy to start here. And then what we are seeing right now is from the views. If we go to views, yeah, and one more thing we need to do while setting up, we need to change the link to pack. So what it does is when you go in production, you won't see the CSS if you don't make these changes. This is due to some of the Webpacker issue. Like then it comes to another session to how to handle Webpacker with that. So like this is just brief thing why I did this. And so yeah, now we are good to go. So after this, we need to set up our database. So setting up the database is easy. Like now, like what I'll do, I'll run a command bundle exec. It's Rails DB create. So now it's creating our DB. So you can see we got thing. Okay, one second. Let's change the database name. Development one, question, production one. So it created our database with development one, test one. It didn't create a production because we are in local version. So this is also a benefit of Rails. Like by default, you can go and specify like what environment you're in. So if you go to environment, we have development, production, test. So it makes us very, very easy for development and also to segregate the environments, like what kind of environments you are in currently. So it makes very, very easy to handle this. So I really like this feature of Ruby on Rails. Like in other programming language or other framework, we need to actually mention it using the environment files and everything. But here we get this by default. So I really like this feature. After this, like let's now do one thing. I'll generate a scaffold like what I was talking about earlier. So let's see like what the scaffold gives us and what great things we can do. So scaffold. So let's make it for books. So why I'm making books, I'm taking as an example. You guys can take anything. So when we do scaffold, see what so many files are created for us. First, it created migration. So with this migration, we can write to the database like in books table what kind of columns we want, and we can. And this is a model books.rb. So let's say like what is model books.rb? Let's go and check. So again. So book.rb is something, for example, if we have a name, for example, name column in our database, and now we want, okay, this name should be of 30 characters or it should be a unique, and any kind of, validations you want to put, you can put in this file. And if you want to put any model related logic, for example, if I'm getting a book, if I want to modify a book name with, adding spaces between each and every word before sending it to the front end, we can add that logics here so that model related logics are segregated to this file. Now we have got books controller. So books controller, see, it gave us a basic structure how Ruby on Rails code is written. So that's why we generate scaffold. So how controller is written. So in controller, we have by default, Ruby on Rails gives us CRUD API thing. So we have index, show, new, edit, create, update. So this is a basic CRUD thing. It gives us books. So index will give us all of the books that we have in our database, and show will give us a particular book for a particular ID. For example, I want a book for ID 1, so it will give me a book for ID 1, and then we have a new book. Then it will create it will give a new book, it will create and it will give you a new book by default. And then we have edit. So in this once again, and okay, now then we have update here. So in this update, what will happen, for example, I want to update a particular book. I'll go here and I'll send the API call from books/1 and with the params in the body, and it will update the book here. We have create, so it will create the book. So we don't need to write each and every functions and then make the routes and to bind the whole system to work with the APIs. We have that by default. Now, if we go to routes, so this routes file, this basically tells us like what kind of routing we want here. For example, if you see Django or say Node.js there, you have to specify like, okay, for this for slash books, we want this function. For slash this, we want this function. So in this resources, so resources books, it takes as basic CRUD operation, create, update, delete, and this once again, yeah, create, update, delete, and it takes index. Yeah, these all things it takes. And you can see the examples, like they are also mentioning like how you will send the API, like API URL from the front end, and you will get these many functions by default. You don't need to add it. So, and you can also fetch the parameters. And in Ruby on Rails, we also have callbacks. So what these callbacks does, this, for example, before show, edit, update, or destroy, like all of these calls, what we are getting from front end, before like performing this, for example, if you go to show, before performing this function, I want to perform some other function. We can do with before action callback. So before action callback will call set book, and set book will find the book from the parameters, like what we are getting from the front end. So it saves our, like it saves the code. Like when you write in a complex code, you will like you have to write this everywhere, like before doing show or anything, or you need to at least write a function call if you make it to another function, like get books in each and every show, new or edit. But here we can using the callback, so you can write it here once, and it will act for each and every functions that we define here. And we also get views for it. So I think if we go in views, so see, for books it generated so many views, but these are in ERB and HTML.ERB, so I won't cover this because I really want to show you guys like how you can do this in React. And we I think that's it. Let's go here, like what is important. We have tests as well. They're also creating helpers, so I'll not cover that right now. Yeah, let's say migrate. So we have migration for create books. So what migration means is, for example, this will create a table in the database, and we can add some, columns to it. Let's try adding name only. So I'm adding a string with name, and it will like this. This will create a table with books and a string with name and a timestamp. It will add to it. So let's now migrate this table. So we need to add Rails DB migrate. So yeah, it migrated. And now let's see if we go here. And now I'm going to show you with Rails console, to see like basically with Rails console, we can go into the database and, perform some different operations. So we can see that book. Now let's create a book with a name ABC. Yeah, so we have, sorry. So I think this went wrong here. We can go back on migration as well. Something is not working. Okay, so let's skip that for now. Like we'll run out of time to debug this. Like some setup is going wrong here. So well, let's leave it right now. So yeah, basically when you do some migration, if you go to schema here, you will I think database is stuck somewhere. So we'll get the schema here over here, and yeah, I can show you in the dummy application that I was working on. So that will be. Yeah. So see, it will create, for example, here also I created a book, and it has this table. This table has books, and it has a string with create books. the column name, and it has a column name with created at and updated at. So whatever data, whatever schemas you have, you will see here. And if you want to make any kind of changes with the schema, you have to write a migration to make the changes. So that's how we interact with database, and we add our new columns or update our new columns, any kind of thing. Any changes is done through migrations in Ruby on Rails. And after that, now let's move ahead with seeing how we can add React to the application. So how many of you know React, and like how many of you have worked with React? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so on the side possibly is. So like, do you guys are actually interested in React because connecting, like, you guys really want to see like how we can use React, and are you really excited about it? So I'll show you in depth of it. Otherwise, I'll walk through you to the code, and how you can connect it. So there are two options, like how you want to proceed ahead with it. Like, any opinions? Okay, so I have a setup application here. I'll walk you through the code, like how we actually need to set up React application. Okay, so in previous, as you guys have also seen that we have so many files generated in this, but now how to add React and what to do here. So how we do that? So we have inside JavaScript, we need to create a SRC file. So inside this SRC, we have a app.jsx, basically how we write in basic React application. But why we need to do it in JavaScript? Because Ruby on Rails, and like inside JavaScript, like we need to add, because React is also only JavaScript. So we also have in TypeScript, but basically it gets converted and transpiled into JavaScript. So we are putting it inside JavaScript, and we are making the SRC folder. Inside that, we are adding app.jsx. And to make that app.jsx work, we need to create a home controller. If you go inside home controller, this is a normal index thing, and inside this we are rendering. So what we are rendering here, if we go inside views, we should have a home, and inside that we are adding a React component. So this React component is coming from the packs that we need to add, and we have application.js where we are like, this is Rails UJS and Rails Active Storage, and we are also adding a Rails React gem. So inside that we need to require a source folder. So this source folder that we are creating, and we need to pass it to like React Rails UJS. So what this will do, this will take the source folder and put it inside the React component, what we have here in our home, and it will run the app.jsx file. Whatever we mentioned here, it will run that particular file from the source file as the main folder. Basically, in Create React app, we are starting from index. So here it is starting from app.jsx. Okay. And inside that app.jsx, we can also add our React router DOM and each and everything. Now, like, you're inside React, so you can add everything what you are using in React. So let's see here. So if I'm, learning React, and I've added two routes here, one is slash and one is about. And if I go to my page and see, okay, I'll start this server. I'll stop this server right now. Let's start this Rails server and don't reload this. So now what happens when we are inside this routes, and we mentioned root to be home index, which is this one, and we have seen what we did all over the path that is coming, divert it to the home index. So what it will do, like all over the path that is not matching with the resources or any kind of backend routes that we have mentioned here, and if it is not that part, then redirect it to the home index, and then home index will take to the home controller, which will have an index file, which will render, and render will come to the React component, and this will render the React part. So that's how the whole React thing works. And I'm inside this Ruby on Rails app only, and you can see I have my controllers here where I'm handling all of the front end logic, back end logic, and then I have my React here where I'm handling all of my front end logic. So it makes so much easy to work with the whole ecosystem here. We have, because nowadays people want to use React for their front end, so we are using that. We are using backend here, and everything is in one folder structure, and it makes very easy to deploy to the cloud. We can just deploy this repository that you have in GitHub with the Ruby on Rails environment, and it will make the whole application work. You don't have to deploy things separately for front end or back end. So, and now if we go to front end, you can see like we are in the home page and we got learning React. And now if we go to about, like it's not visible. 1 second. So it's not this. We have about React here. So routing is also working. So basically we have all of the React implemented. You can also create components folder inside this, and work add different components and use it in the React. So this was the whole overview of it. I think, yeah, it covered almost everything I wanted to. So, yeah. So yeah, that was it. Like getting started with Ruby on Rails, what kind of files you get with Ruby on Rails, and how do you start your server, how do you add React to Ruby on Rails. And like basically I wanted you guys to get started with Rails. Like you would, like in 30 or 40 minutes it's really hard to tell each and everything about how you can do with Ruby on Rails, but this was a kind of whole overview of it. And I'll definitely like share different stuff from where you can learn it. Actually, I can show you one, like if you guys are really interested, like in BigBinary, there's a book written to learn Ruby on Rails. You guys can go to this, and this is kind of a whole book where you can just get started with Ruby on Rails. This has all of the setup that you can do installing Ruby on Rails, and then learning React JS here, and how Ruby, what are the core principles of Rails, and building a new application, and whole bunch of book it is. Like I know, like nowadays we are addicted to the video stuff, but I'm telling you this book is very good. And if you follow each and every lines of thing that book has written, you will get a very good knowledge about Rails, and it is in very depth. So you can see we have 95 chapters here covering each and everything, and on daily basis they are contributing more to this book. So this book will really help you guys. I'll share this in the chat. 1 second. So that's it. So I'm open for any kind of questions you have. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, Arthur.
Yes, so I'm asking that for backend database, we can use any kind of SQL. You were saying this.
Yeah, you can use SQL and PostgreSQL. That is, Rails supports. But you can also add Mongo and all. It will require a workaround, but you can use it.
Okay, so I'm asking that's a like in Django. Django just creates an PostgreSQL file for us, so we don't need to work there. In Ruby on Rails, there is nothing something like that.
It creates a file, but you need to add different tables and columns to that. You need regular updating and deleting columns as well. So you have schema file in Ruby on Rails where you can see the schema of the whole database.
Okay, sir, I got that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome. Any questions? Any other questions?
Hello everyone, feel free to ask questions as it is Q&A time. So we are waiting for your questions. So there is one question in chat section. Sagar is saying that he wants to learn Ruby on Rails.
Yeah. So there are many, there are not that much resources from where you can learn Ruby on Rails, but nowadays Ruby on Rails is in demand right now. Basically, you will not see people using Ruby on Rails when they just start their project, or if you see a new company starting and kind of a startup. But when you see a established company which has been working from a long time, they are using Ruby on Rails because they have seen that kind of quality and what what performance Ruby on Rails gives. And Ruby on Rails also have regular updations. They are updating their things. They are adding new features to it. And by default, they're giving us so many features: action cable, active record, active jobs, action mailers. So these all things, when you work on Node, you need to add it from your own. You need to learn new packages, use that packages. But here we are getting from Rails itself. So that's why it's a very good thing to learn.
You answered it. Thank you so much for answering it. So any other questions do you have? Any one of you, you can write it in chat section and then we can move to the next part. Any question for Ruby on Rails, or how you can make your career on it in Ruby on Rails? So you can ask any question in the chat section, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. So I think all clear for today. So just let me give a brief introduction about MyWays right now. Thank you so much for everyone for attending session. Thank you so much, Priyam, for taking this session. So let's move for the next session, which is next part, that is my Gurukul. As I have told earlier that I'll discuss about my Gurukul later on at the end of the session. So I'm just going to discuss about it. First of all, I would like to thank you, Priyam, for mentoring our students on Ruby and Rails and taking out a precious time on long weekend.
Yeah. Thank you so much I'll thank MyWays to give me this opportunity to share my learnings, or brief learnings actually, on Ruby on Rails, and help them get started with Ruby on Rails actually. And I also shared them a link where they can go and learn Ruby on Rails, get started with it. So it will really help them.
Yeah, so we will also send this link to all our participants who have registered but could not make to attend it. So we will share it as in resource kit with them also.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so now let me be brief about the My Gurukul initiative. So My Gurukul initiative is a recent initiative which is launched by MyWays. So we have our hiring partners, which are MNCs and startups like Paytm, Fleetex, and many more tech startups. So basically what we do is we place students, basically tech students, free of cost. We did not charge anything from students, and we will place them in a company where they can actually get placed and trained while on the job. So this is a initiative. Now what's the process of this? So the process of this is you first have to give the hiring test, and once you clear that hiring test, you will eligible for the internal interview, and after the internal interview you have to give the external interview, which is from our hiring partners. And then once you clear all these three stages, then you are finally get placed, and with the 3 months of training you can start your job. With the 3 months or 1 year training, depending on the profile and depending on the year in which you are. So then you can just get your job and be placed. So basically, since we have a ROR topic today's masterclass, so we have a hiring test for ROR, which I personally request all you. It is a great opportunity. So you can just click on the test link and give that test. And before that, please do not forget to fill the feedback form so that we can actually send you the test link over your email also, and also improvise our master classes for you, because we generally like do a masterclass for our students also, and we generally take their input to enhance ourselves, that how can we actually improve our masterclass. So please fill the feedback form and then feel free to give the test. If you have any questions regarding MyWays or My Gurukul or any placement cell placements, that how we are placing students, so you can just type in chat or just unmute yourself and talk to us. Any other question, like anyone, like if in related to MyWays or anything? Once again, I'm just putting the test link in the chat section so that you can just go and give the test, attempt the test, and after giving the, if you are eligible, you will get the interview call from internal interview call, and then you will get external interview based on your eligibility. So please do not forget to give the test. And this is a live hiring test. You can go and right now give it. Just let me know once all, like, do you have any questions, or should we wrap up for the day? Because it's a Saturday, so I did not take much of your time in the evening. Or you can just thumbs up, show me a thumbs up. So great. So I'll send you the test link over email also. If you did not click right now, you can access it through there also, and resource kit also. So we are very happy to host you today. Thank you so much, Priyam. Again, thank you so much all of the audience who come today and learn with us. And thank you so much. We are very happy to host you, Priyam.
Thank you so much, and all the best, students, for your eligibility test. And you guys can always email me. I think MyWays will share my email, or I can share my email here as well, so that you guys can, ping me anytime if you have any queries, or we can connect via LinkedIn as well. So yeah.
Yeah, we will share our LinkedIn and email in the video. Thank you. Thank you so much, Priyam, for the, have a great weekend ahead.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. So students, do you have any query, or we can wrap up the session?
I have nothing, ma'am. Thank you for the session.
Thank you so much. And please, if you have any query, write me out at my official email ID. I'll respond to you over it. So it is like student.connect@myways.ai. So this is my official ID. Feel free to email me if you have any problem. So we are very happy to host you, and happy weekend, happy Independence Day. Stay safe and keep following master classes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, and same to you also.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. It's lovely talking to you all.